So, originally today's video was going to be about Chucky's add-ons, and we were going to go over them in a tier list to determine which ones are the best and which ones you should use. However, we're not going to do that because Behavior put out the patch yesterday, not the patch, but the patch notes yesterday, that one, they're making jump rope slightly base kit, and two, the big thing, they're going to be making it so all the other add-ons get number changes for the least used and the most used ones. So we don't know which ones are good. For all I know, running shoes might go to a 2% instead of a 3% buff. Hell, it might go to a 1% speed buff. Who knows? They might make it useless. Wouldn't be the first time Behavior's done something like that. But this is more so a video about batteries included. So I wanted to make a whole video about this because I ranted a little bit about it last night, or yesterday's video with the patch note read. But batteries included didn't need the nerf it got. And once again, I said it opens up a whole can of worms because I think the reason it did get the change it did is because Behavior doesn't know what to do with it without making it either A, useless, or B, too strong. However, I'm not going to lie, I think other than a few people complaining, I think it was fine. Once again, if the killer is getting a lot of use out of batteries included, one of two situations is happening. They are either being sent to a side of the map with a gen completed, which is bad for them. They shouldn't be doing that. If they are, it's either out of desperation or because the survivor was able to corral them there. It's just, yeah, that's just how it is. The other time they would be getting use out of it is during the end game, which I remind everyone again is the fucking end game. No one cares at that point. Oh, but I don't technically win if I got... Listen, if you got all 5 gens done, I can promise you it's basically over. Like, at that point, it's a free-for-all. Camping's fine. Tunneling's fine. Like, no one cares about this stuff in in-game. And if you do, I hate to tell you, you're in the minority. The batteries included really only got used in the in-game because all the gens were done, so it would get used from all of the gens. Especially on some of the smaller maps or two-story maps, like Midwich. And honestly, if I was to nerf it myself, I would have just gotten rid of the linger effect or made the linger effect last shorter. Maybe 1, 2, and 3 seconds. Which brings us to the second point and why I think they nerfed it the way they did. I kind of alluded to this a bit yesterday, but I think Behavior needs to get rid of perk tiers. Perk tiers are from a bygone era of this game that doesn't need to exist. They don't do anything useful anymore. To be honest, back then, they didn't even do anything useful. The only thing it does is veteran players don't even notice it half the time because they just level everything up anyways. And newer players, it just makes it more difficult for them to A, understand perks, and more importantly, get them. Like, it is so hard to explain to somebody that a tier 1 exhaustion perk is way worse than a tier 3. Like, way worse. And how it objectively messes with how you play the game. But the big reason I think tiers need to go away is because of what they do for how Behavior has to balance things and how perks have to be added to the game. I think NoEd is a good example, and I talked about this yesterday as well. They can't really nerf NoEd without completely reworking the perk. And the reason for that is because the only numbers they can change on it are the movement speed, but they can't change it completely because of the tiers, which is why I'm convinced the movement speed is even on NoEd. Same with Calm Spirit. I'm almost 90% sure the only reason Calm Spirit got that change it did, where now it makes you do totems slower, is because they needed something, a number to change for each of the tier perks. That's the only reason I can think they did it. Like, there's a lot of perks like this in the game that seem like they have a certain thing added to them just so there can be a tier perk difference. I think Made for this is a good example too. Before they did the change recently, where now it only works when you're under endurance effect. Like, the endurance on it made no sense until you think about it when you're like, oh, well, they had to add something into it to give it something, give it a reason to have different tiers of a perk. Right? Like, I'm convinced that Behavior does this with a lot of perks on purpose. Because they have to adhere to the 3-tier system of perks. And I would just get rid of perk tiers. I don't know, like, even as a veteran player, I wouldn't even care if they just did it and I didn't get anything for it. I'd be fine with that. Just get rid of them. There's, like, no point other than to make some arbitrary reason why one perk is worse than another, even though it's the same perk. And hell, there's some perks. Whispers is a good example. Tier 1 and 2 of Whispers is virtually useless on every killer in the game. Virtually. The thing with Whispers is once you have it at Tier 3, it's 32 meters. The size of most killers' terror radiuses, which means that if you see it go off, you know a survivor is in your terror radius. Like, it has a point. At 48 meters, though, who cares? What are you going to do with that information? I mean, you could try to triangulate it, but by the time you do that, they're probably gone. Or move somewhere else. Like, I don't know. I really do think behavior needs to get rid of perk tiers. But back to my main point, I know we rambled on about perk tiers, but once again, I think it goes into the reasons why I think they weren't sure how to nerf or change batteries included. But once again, I don't think batteries included needed to change. I'm glad behavior is listening to the community. I really am. But I really wish they would give us some leeway sometimes. Because as of late, I feel like they haven't been. And yes, I know someone's going to go in the comments and be like, well, Made for This was meta for 6 months and they didn't change it at all. Listen, I have a feeling they didn't do it because they were afraid to. And they couldn't figure out a way to perfectly do it. And I think the solution they came up with is just fine. The Gen Cake meta, listen, I can't even fucking defend that, even though I used it. Even I'm going to sit here and be like, yeah, that was just terrible. To be fair, though, with the Gen Kick meta, I think Skull Merchant and Knight exacerbated that one a bit much. Because while it was good on other killers, those two in particular made it worse than it needed to be. So I think it was more so a problem with them than the Gen Kick perks itself. Don't get me wrong, they still needed to be nerfed. Honestly, I think they might have gone a little too far on that one, but that's a whole other topic. But yeah, I don't think batteries included need the nerf. And this isn't just because, oh, I'm a killer main and I don't care what the survivors want. It's not that at all. Like I explained earlier, I think batteries included only got value during most of the game when the killer was in a bad spot. And it got value in-game when combined with NOED, particularly. And the solution to that is just make it so haste effects don't stack. Now, I actually wouldn't want them to do that because there's a lot of combos in the game that wouldn't work. And as a clown player, I would despise no haste stacking. But at the same time, if that's bottlenecking some design features in the game, I'd go for it, I guess. Like, I'd be down for it. If it's not, though, and the reason you did it was only because people were complaining about it, like, I guess. I don't think they should fully go back on the change. I would like to see if it gets any use now that it has been nerfed, and then see if we can buff it up again. I'm cool with I call this the horseshoe balancing. You make something too strong or too weak, and you slowly build it up or bring it down. I prefer that kind of balancing, honestly. I think it's more sporadic, and I think it's an easier way to find balance, rather than, like, slowly adjusting it over time from a middling perk, you know? I'd rather have something be OP and brought down than something be terrible and brought up. The reason being also for that is first impressions matter. There's a lot of perks in this game that people won't use just because their first impressions of it were terrible. I'm not going to sit here and say, like, Breakdown is actually the greatest perk in the game. No, but I know a lot of people who won't use it because they've never seen anyone use it, have no reason to use it, and because a lot of people who tried it just didn't get much use out of it. So therefore, it's a bad perk and never gets any use, and it's just useless. Batteries included, I feel like, is going to have the same effect now that it's been nerfed. I think people are going to try it one match who didn't try it on PTB, see that it didn't do anything, and then never use it again. And that is my biggest fear with it. I think it should work in-game. I think it should just get rid of the lingering effect. I think it should get rid of perk tiers so they're able to do that better. I'm just tired of a lot of this bottlenecking with design because of other things that affect it. It's not just Dead by Daylight. It's a lot of other games that do this kind of stuff too. I think League is a good example as well. I know a lot of people don't like to talk about League of Legends, but they had a problem with bottlenecking. The difference with them, though, is they didn't care and would still introduce it into the game. They just wouldn't test it. Or, you know, have people be like, you know, maybe this isn't good because this character can abuse it. No one really thinks that far ahead. That's not to say the devs are lazy or the devs don't know what they're doing. I do think they do. It's just, I think they made a mistake this time, and we'll see what happens in the future. Who knows? Maybe another haste effect will come out, and that's the reason they actually nerfed it. Whatever. In any case, Chucky's only 3 to 4 days away, depending on what time you're watching this. Like and sub and all that stuff. I have to say that every time because YouTube tells me people like it. I appreciate all the support. The Toys for Tots stream, my Twitch is below. However, the Toys for Tots stream is still going on the 28th. It's going to be 24 hours starting at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. EST. I hope to see some of y'all there. If you can't make it, I made a community post about this earlier, but if you can't make it, there will be a link in the community posts I'm going to post on that day. So you can still donate for the stream, so you can help us hit the milestones, even though you're not able to make it. I understand, but it is 24 hours. You know, if you can, you can. If you can't. It's fine. I appreciate any support you guys show me. Even just watching the video is enough for me. In any case, this is just a long, really ranty video. It didn't have, like, bullet points like I usually do, but yeah, batters included didn't need a nerf. Get rid of perk tiers, and I hope behavior finds some way to get around this problem of bottleneck design with a lot of the characters and perks in this game. In any case, I'll catch you guys in the next one, and bye!